Good morning and welcome to our September the 16th Board of Commissioners meeting. We welcome each of you to our meeting this morning. We would like to also welcome those who are viewing us by way of television. We appreciate your interest in county government. I shall now call this meeting to order and we will have our roll call.
It's not registering. We'll note that you're all here with the exception of Mr. Hammond.
Okay, let's now stand for our invocation and pledge. Commissioner Ward is going to lead us in our invocation and Commissioner Owens is going to lead us in our pledge.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful world that we live in and for the lives you have given us in it. Please help us and be with us today as we make decisions and keep your thoughts with us. Amen.
Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll have a motion that we approve our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's vote. Thank you.
And we'll just take that count by hand.
Okay. Let's vote by hand. Everyone in favor of the agenda? You got that, Madam Attorney?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. We do have one recognition this morning. Our Commissioner McLaughlin served on the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Board of Directors this past year, and we have Commissioner Webb, who is the first vice president of our association, and he would like to recognize Commissioner McLaughlin for his service this past year. Thank you.
We'll go down. Good morning. It's not often that we recognize one of our own for achievements, but as a member of the executive committee, and we set the direction for the association, and the association spends all of its time advocating for counties, the executive committee couldn't do what it does without the assistance of the board of directors. So on behalf of past President Howard Hunter, I'd like to present this special recognition to Melvin for all of his hard work on the association, his dedication to the board of directors. He was at every meeting and really helped us with our goals and was a big part of us achieving a lot of our goals at the General Assembly. So that we give you this token of our appreciation from the association. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Sure.
I attended the conference, and it was very obvious to me that Commissioner Webb was very up to date on what was happening at the convention, and it made Pitt County look good. And I appreciate, for one, the hard work that Commissioner Webb is doing.
Very good, thank you. I think that we all would echo that and appreciate the service of having two commissioners serve on our state board for this past year. That's an honor for Pitt County. We will now have our public addresses to the board. We have several people that have signed up. The first one is Jimmy Hughes. Would you please come forward and state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, and I'll keep your time. And Mr. Hammond is here. If you all want to enter your roll call, you may do so now as well.
Okay.
I'm Jimmy Hughes. I live at 395 Farmingwood Road in Greenville, 27858. I'm here to address the possible change in gun rights laws that will be discussed today and voted on probably by the commissioners. I think what needs to be done is write our law in Pitt County to apply or to use the state law. They've already done all the hard work and the legwork and the research on it. Why should we try to rewrite it to fit a certain way? Concealed carry holders are not the problem. We are not committing the crimes in this country. So why restrict us? Put restrictions on the crooks. Well, we've already got laws. They don't obey the laws. That's the problem. You can write another law, it's not going to affect the criminal. They just don't abide by it. Again, I advocate that you do what the state has done. I don't know if you're aware or not, Winston-Salem has tried to do or has passed rules and regulations like you're considering today. They have been sued. There's a good possibility this county will be sued by a state organization if you pass this law today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hammond and Mr. James, would you vote, please? And Tom Johnson.
Did it come up?
Did you hit confirm?
Yes, I thought I did.
Okay.
Does he have a battery?
I should again.
Madam Attorney, take care of that. Mr. Johnson is here. Okay, thank you. Next person that signed up to speak is Bill Young. Would you please come forward and state your name and your address?
My name is Bill Young. I'm 1502 Dover Circle here in Greenville. And I would like to ask the commission today to follow the state law that was passed recently this year. A lot of work went into that, and I do think that with things that are going on in the world today, unless the county is willing to put somebody in parks to protect the citizens and my grandkids and children, that people should be allowed to carry concealed in the park. Like Mr. Hughes said, most of these people have gone through 8+ hours of education. They have qualified on the range, and they are the elite of your squeaky clean citizens in Pitt County. And so I ask you today to consider following state guidelines and not try to super exceed those. And thank you for allowing me to have these comments, and I'm sure y'all will do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, the next person
Chairman,
is...
Is the mic working up there? Is the mic working up there?
I believe that
It did for Jimmy, but I don't think it just did.
Might be a question for those in the
Is the
back.
mic working? Okay, he's taking care of it. Okay, the next one is Fred Farrell. State your name and your address, please.
My name is Fred Farrell. I live at 208 Templeton Drive, Greenville, 27858. I want to address the issue of concealed carry in the parks, specifically the Greenville Recreation Complex. Lawful concealed carry is a good thing. We own the right to self-determination here, and not to be beat down and left for dead like the fellow was Saturday on the tobacco trail in Durham. And I know we've had our own incidences here on our local greenway. So I strongly support following the state guidelines on concealed carry in parks, which came along and followed concealed carry in national parks, and that trying to circumvent this likely will not work, and I would hate to see that county funds have to be spent in a lawsuit against passing negative legislation as far as concealed carry goes in our parks and greenways. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Brenda Harris. Please come forward, state your name and address, please.
My name is Brenda Harris. I live at 2223 Ashley Whips Court. As a matter of housekeeping, this is a complaint that has gone to the North Carolina Department of Insurance. It states that your county attorney, your county manager, and your county inspectors lied before you August the 5th. Now, this is going up for review. I met and attended the qualifications board meeting. I intend to include and attend every one of them until our inspectors understand what state law is, what federal law is, and what the rights of every citizen is. because you don't have a right to lie. You don't have a right to misrepresent. You don't have a right to do skunky things in Pitt County and call it legal. Secondly, these are your compliance agreements. This is the nuts and bolts of where you get your money. 1999 to today. It says that if you don't abide in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VI, you are in deep trouble. It triggers recovery. I was in a state meeting this week, and the Department of Health and Human Services are in deep trouble with the Department of Justice. I intend to tap onto the AOC trouble and the Department of Justice to say North Carolina needs an investigation second to none, or cut their federal funds off and let them start all of a sudden being prostrate in front of government saying, please, please give us a second chance. Now, I figured that you don't listen. So I'm sending your county attorney to the North Carolina Bar. And because I like her, Mr. Owens, and you are a licensed attorney, I'm going to have to send you too. Because when you allow county government to do things that are not lawful and federal law takes precedent, then I have no choice but to be a voice of the people. There were martyrs like Martin Luther King. He died because he believed that everybody had a right and everybody had value. For 2 years, I've stood before you and I've said, everybody has value. I've listened to you, Miss Ward. Here, the lowest hanging fruit is the way we collect taxes, and you didn't speak forward. That was August the 22nd. Your county attorney was there. That was a complete violation of those compliance agreements. You know why? Because you're supposed to be a standard. You're supposed to say that if the federal people give us gun rights, then we've got gun rights in North Carolina. We've got gun rights in Pitt County. It says that each one of you, under the 13th Amendment, you're not exempt. Under the 18th Amendment, which was passed in 2004, it says that if you pass things that are not good for the people, then you are individually liable. Now, when it comes to this bond referendum and we getting more taxes, I might as well throw my 2 cents in. When you start present using $2.1 million out to wealthy white farmers, and you increase the foreclosures on poor Afro-Americans, you have sold government out. And you no longer are a government for the people. You are for yourselves. God bless.
The next item, the next person to speak is William, and I can't read the last name. Please come forward. I'm sorry. But the handwriting is still better than mine.
Good morning. My name is William Knight, and I live at 406 Able Street here in Greenville. And I'm approaching you guys, asking you guys today. I am the coach at DH Conley High School that received a kidney through the help or the awareness of my JV girls basketball team. The reason I'm here, I'm out speaking to everyone about organ donations. In fact, I'm speaking to everybody that let me in, churches, any organizations. I was at Rose High School this summer speaking to the driver's ed class. And after finishing my speech, walked out, and the custodian was out. He had a couple of kids with him, which I thought were his. Their age were 10 and 12 years old. And he explained to me that these kids were doing community service. My thing to you, what I'm asking you guys is this. I am a product of manpower. Back in the day, they gave us young kids jobs. And these young kids need a trade, need a job. And I'm asking you guys, is there any way that you can write a grant that will provide jobs for these young people and get the local businesses to come in and hire these people, which the grant would take care of their pay, teach them a skill, and use them how to work their hands. The thing I think that's wrong with the youth today, they have nothing to do. They have nothing to do with their hands. And when I was coming up, people taught me how to work, how to hustle, how to make a dollar. And these kids have no avenue of doing that. So, I mean, it's not about me, it's about these kids here in Pitt County. And I'm asking for you guys to somehow, if you all can reach out to every city here in this county, Greenville, Bethel, Grifton, Aden, Farmville, all the little cities that we can provide jobs for these kids and keep them out of trouble. That's one of the saddest things since I've been doing this that I've seen. And I hope you guys can help us out and find some way that we can reach out to these young adults. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person that signed up is Ms. Nancy Coble.
Well, good morning. My name is Nancy Colville. My address is on file. And I want to revisit my statement made on August 19 during the public hearing on the proposed property tax rate increase to pay for the Pitt Community College bond referendum. Since then, I purchased a tape of the June 25th meeting. I listened to it. I read the minutes of the meeting. I understand what Dr. Massey said, what County Manager Elliott said, and what each of you said. I'd like to know what is your reasoning for endorsing this bond referendum. Simply saying that you're for education is not enough. Most of you expressed reservations concerning the short window of time to inform the public, so why did you consent to Dr. Massey's request? Why not postpone it until next year, when 6 of you will be up for re-election and the voters' turnout will be far larger? Based on the information I now have, I cannot endorse this property tax rate increase to be paid only by 38% of the residents who are property owners in this county. I would support a 1/4-cent sales tax increase if needed, targeted for education only. In my opinion, this is the only fair tax there is. At present, the 1/4-cent sales tax earmarked for education brings approximately $4 million a year. It is paying the debt service for 2 Pitt County school projects and 1 Pitt Community County project. This fund has enough in it to pay for the debt service for the renovation of the building to accommodate the law endorsement personnel at Pitt Community College. Why is this option not being explored? How urgent is the construction of the proposed science building? It is not clear if this building is to alleviate present congestion or to attract new students. How much growth can 38% of the population in this county support? Pitt County is a low-wealth county. We cannot create the jobs and amenities that, may I finish this paragraph?
Yes.
That our neighbors to the west have due to the location and per capita income and participation of citizens in that area. Neither can we continue to carry our neighboring counties on the back of 38% of our residents. How long before they start moving across the county line and coming here for freebies? Thank you.
Thank you. That is all who have signed up. Is anyone else who would like to address us this morning? If you would like to, you may come forward. If not, we will move on to the next item on our agenda. It is our policy not to respond to public addresses, but at that meeting, but we will investigate the issues and to see if there is something that we can do or need to do. Thank you. We will now move on to our items for report. The first one is our manager's report. Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. A few items to report to you. Your next meeting dates for the month of October will be the first and third Monday, the 7th and 21st, 9 a.m. on the 7th and 6 p.m. on the 21st. Item B, as we announced each meeting, boards which we're currently recruiting for applicants for. We have the Pitt County Child Fatality Prevention Team, the Greenville Board of Adjustment, and the Aid and Planning Board. Item C, just want to bring to the board's attention in terms of benefits for county employees. We're going to be adding some voluntary benefits for dental and vision insurance. These are options in which the employees would pay out of pocket. There's no county funding of this at all. This is to go along with the dental vision reimbursement plan we have for the county as well. If they do opt for optional coverage, that would be, that we have to submit that first and then come back to the county's dental vision reimbursement plan. Item D, I want to bring you an update on the Chicago Sewer Project. As you're probably aware, W.O. White, who is the contractor on the site, went into bankruptcy this summer, pretty much put a halt to the project. There is a new company that's been named Central Builders through a takeover agreement, and they have between 150 and 180 days to complete the work, and there's no damages to the county. Surety will pay for anything that's outstanding on the project. And once the sewer is completed and we hook Chicago up, there's really been no effect on the school system because they have not been able to build the addition on the school they've been anticipating. So once it is put in place, it'll be a good thing, and then at some point in the future, when and if they do build down there, it'll be in place. Item E, I want to give you a copy. We have been working with our Public Information Office. We are creating some public informational material regarding the upcoming referendum that will be on the ballot for the $19.9 million referendum question for Pitt Community College. We've done a couple things here. The flyer I'm handing out to you right now is basically just the nuts and bolts of the message that we're sending out as county government to inform the voters, A, that there's a bond referendum, B, what it entails, C, what it will cost, and D, when it's going to be. We've been using our Channel 13 public government access channel and pretty much have slides of this information. We had a bit of this in the paper this weekend in our Pitt County Staying Connected ad, and we'll probably use this in other ways as well, print material and such. So I wanted to let you know that we are out there wanting to make sure that we as county government are trying to educate the public that this issue will be on the ballot, what it entails, that it is a tax increase, gives an example of whether a $100,000 house, 150 to 250 or 3, what it would cost in terms of additional tax levy on that house. And then the last item I have that's not on the agenda, I'm sure you saw in the newspaper the announcement of economic development, and just wanted to read from the news release that the Pitt County Development Commission released right after the North Carolina Department of Commerce announced theirs. But they announced here locally that Domtar, a pulp, paper, and absorbent hygiene products manufacturer, marketer, and distributor, will expand its Pitt County facility. The company will create 35 jobs and invest $100,000 over the next 3 years. And this is right on the tails of them investing about $20 million in the region over the past 2 years. The Domtar is a company that's a subsidiary of Attend's Healthcare Products. That's probably the name that we're familiar with here in Greenville, Pitt County. Currently, Attend's employs 300 people at the Greenville facility. This expansion will create 35 jobs in high-paying areas such as finance and accounting. Salaries will vary by job, but the average annual wage for the new jobs will be roughly $52,000 per year plus benefits. Currently, the average wage in Pitt County is almost $34,000, so this is a good news item for Pitt County. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Very good, thank you. That is indeed.
Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Manager, you always talk about increasing taxes on homes. All right, on your bond issue, we'll say a farmer, and there are many farmers out there who have a tractor, $150,000. You're telling me that their taxes won't go up on this vehicle, and that these people that own all of these vehicles all over the county, pickup trucks, all of this, are you saying that their taxes will not increase?
No, the most common example we use to illustrate a tax increase that people can relate to is a single-family dwelling, but no, it's whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, personal property such as a car, a tractor, personal property in a plant per se, industrial plant, it would be taxed across the board.
That's exactly right. I think that's one of the things that we should stress. You know, a truck now costs twice as much as my home when I built it. Did you realize that? So when you're talking about a tax increase, you're not just about talking about your house. That's just the beginning. And I want to stress the importance of that.
And thank you for pursuing this. It is a $19.9 million question on the ballot. It will be the equivalent of a 1.85 cent, almost 1.9 cent tax increase. I didn't point that out. We have in the past meetings. And this will be over a 20-year period in which the loan would be paid back.
Right. I just want everybody to know it's just not your homes that you're talking about increasing your taxes on, but it's everything that you possess.
Okay.
And now it's not a small amount because, as I said, we as farmers, some of your farmers, it will be tremendous as to how much more money it will cost.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
appreciate
Davis.
that.
Thank you. I'd like to also add my excitement and congratulations to Domtar for expanding their footprint here in Pitt County. We worked hard to make sure that happened, and we were very, very excited about it happening, bringing 35 jobs into our community. And this board works very hard with our Development Commission board to do everything we can do to bring jobs into our community. The next item for report is our monthly financial report, and Mr. Holder is going to present that.
Good morning. Included in your board packet is our monthly financial report for the month of August 2013. Pleased to report that after 2 months of fiscal activity, we are tracking very similar to where we were at this point last fiscal year. I'll point out that total revenues have been collected at a rate of 31.5% of budget, and we have had expenditures at 15.1% of budget. The only thing that I would note is that you'll notice that our difference of revenue in excess of expenditure is a couple $2 million below last fiscal year at this time, but we did have a wire payment of some ad valorem taxes because of the Labor Day holiday. The Labor Day holiday fell on September the 2nd. We had a wire at the very end of August that would have yielded about $3.1 million for the county, which if you look at that difference, that would have put us actually about $100,000 ahead in revenue in excess of expenditure of where we were at this point in last fiscal year. So we are continuing to perform within our budget and tracking in a similar position to last fiscal year.
Any questions of Mr. Holder? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the report.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion, second. Let's vote. Thank you. The next item is our 2013 tax collections report, and Ms. Booker is going to present that.
Good morning. The Pitt County combined collection rate for real and personal property and registered motor vehicles through August the 31st is 57.63, which is a decrease of 3.33 over last year's fiscal year-to-date rate of 61.82. But that was made up in the first few days of the next month, so we are actually back at running ahead.
Okay, any questions? If not,
I'd like to do one thing again, because I got a tax notice this week. All right, we pay taxes now on each vehicle. And I think the law is that before you get your license, you will pay your taxes. Is that correct? How does that work?
We are actually working in the old system and in the new system right now for the registered motor vehicles. So if you have waited to register your vehicle, then you will have to come to the office and pay and then go back down, because no longer is there actually a time period to get your bill and to wait to pay it, because under the new system, you get your invitation to renew.
Mr. Chairman, that's the reason I asked this question, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are just like me, they don't quite understand all of this stuff that we're getting, what you got to do to get your license plates now and so forth. And once I want the people to know, once we get it straightened out, we won't have this problem. But right now, to me, it's kind of a problem.
Yes,
It's
and
gonna be for a lot
we
of
do have a lot of information out on that, and we have been helping numerous taxpayers with
That's exactly
questions on the
right.
phone and in the office.
Maybe you all haven't had that problem, but I know my people haven't.
Well, I got my tax notice also on my truck.
Yeah.
And I opened that envelope and I said, wait a minute, what in the world? And then I remembered, oh, I'm paying taxes and my license renewal fee. Okay, any further questions of Ms. Booker? If not, again, I will entertain a motion to approve her report.
So moved, Mr. Second.
Okay, let's vote. Okay, thank you. And thank you. We also have Ms. Campbell here to give us our report from the ABC Board and invite her to come forward.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. First of all, I'm going to start out with our board sales for the year. I'm going to try to here. I want to advance forward here.
Try a page down on the keyboard.
Here we go. The retail sales for fiscal year 2013 was $12,941,748, a $319,239 increase over fiscal year 2012. Our total mixed beverage sales for fiscal year 2013 were $2,968,893, which is a $134,039 decrease from fiscal year 2012. We accredit this to the most people are drinking at home instead of going out to bars, and of course that has decreased our sales. Mixer sales decreased by $11,290. We're getting out of the mixer sales business. In the grocery stores, I can buy much cheaper, and it's just we're not making a profit on them, so it's best for us to go ahead and get out of the mixer sales business. So that's why they decreased so much there. On our next slide here, we have a comparison between 2012 and 2013. Our overall total change was 1.1%, which was a $173,910 increase over the previous year. And as you can see on the slide, it shows the decrease in the mixer sales as well as the mixed beverage sales. On our next slide, we have the year-to-date distribution and retention. Our change in net assets before our profit distribution to the county was $1,386,165.18. Our actual distributions through the end of March were $825,000. The required distributions for the quarter ended 6/30 was $94,358.74, and the additional distribution to the county was $186,441.26 for a total of $1.1 million profit distribution. The balance retained by the ABC Board was $286,165.18. And if you'll see here, it shows that the total that we gave to the county was 80% of our profits, which left us with 20%. The profit distribution comparison from 2012 to 13, our statutory 3.5% profit distribution was $396,237 for 13 as compared to $390,363 for 2012. The additional working capital that we took for the distribution for 2013 was $703,763 as opposed to $709,637 in 2012. And the total distribution overall was $1.1 million. The total distribution for the fiscal year 2013 from the beverage price support, which is the nickel penny that we pay to the county on a monthly basis, was $54,991 as compared to $54,927. And again, the total distribution to the county was $1.1 million. And when you add those two figures together, you get the $1.154 million which is just a little bit more this year than it was last year. I would like to take the time right now to just kind of give you an update on where we are at with the building. It looks like we're getting ready to open the building in the next couple weeks. We've already closed the location at our old TAR location, August 30th or 31st, and we're ready to get in the new building and get the other one closed as soon as we get moved in and get it going good. So does anybody have any questions this morning for me?
Any questions of Ms. Campbell? Okay, do I have a motion to accept her report?
I so moved. Second.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's vote. Thank you.
My screen shows that it's unanimous.
Okay, the next item is our items for consent. Do I have a motion that we approve the items for consent?
So moved. Second.
Motion, second. Let's vote. Thank you. The next item, we have one item for discussion, and that is a resolution in support of restoring funding for public education. We discussed this at our meeting the last time, and this is kind of a revision of the resolution, and you see that on page 63. Mr. Elliott, do you have any additional comments on this?
Mr. Chairman, board members, as you mentioned, obviously this came before the board in the last meeting, and we have taken the input from the board members to revise the resolution. And even as of late as the agenda preview meeting last Thursday, there was some discussion about on the fifth whereas on page 63. As I recall, Commissioner James's first mention of this was about the concern for teachers who had either were earning or had earned their advanced degrees, their master's degrees, and not being compensated for that because it was cut out of the budget. Subsequent to the August 5th meeting, the governor did identify, I believe, $10 million worth of funding to pay or compensate existing teachers that have their master's degrees for the current fiscal year, but it does not address, I guess, the teacher who's currently working towards their master's, and if they graduate at the end of the current fall semester, they would not be eligible. So one of the things that was discussed in that fifth whereas would be where it says, whereas by eliminating automatic pay increases to teachers who obtain advanced degrees, comma, between the word degrees and comma, add in the future. So that whereas would address teachers who are currently working towards that they would be compensated as well. Other than that, it does include the last round of edits by different board members who we contacted everybody asking you for input, and that's what we have right now.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass this resolution and that it be mailed to each member of the House and Senate and to the governor or whoever, the Board of Education, whoever it needs to be done.
Okay,
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
After a lot of consideration, I'm going to vote for this. But as far as I'm concerned, this is it's meaningless political pandering. It's not going to do anything. And we send resolution after resolution after resolution up there, and pretty soon they're going to quit even looking at the resolutions coming from Pitt County. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Webb.
It just should be noted that when you talk about the overall reduction in the budget, that Pitt County received a 0.3% reduction, and that was it from the state in a constricting budget cycle. When our budget constricted, we cut them by 1.5%, I think. So the state's actually cutting less during their constriction cycle than we cut in ours. That's percentage-wise. I know dollar-wise that works out differently. However, we haven't lost any positions. No working teachers have been fired. Although I do agree with some of the tenets, and I think the overall resolution is just, I don't know, it seems like a comment on the headlines we see in the News and Observer in support of those, and not really what's actually been passed in the budget and in the bills. Thank you.
Mr. James?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm in a position to talk more about it than anybody on this board anyway, because I was in the classroom for 35 years. And I cannot imagine a classroom teacher not having books to use in their classroom. I don't know how many of you realize it or not, but these teachers are asked to do a job, and they're not being given the equipment to do that job. Glen, it's the same way. You're a police officer. Suppose they wouldn't buy your gun for you. The thing that you need is a disgrace. And in the Constitution of the United of North Carolina, that is one of the things that we are supposed to do. It didn't start with the Republican Party. It started with the Democratic Party. They haven't had books for 6 years. It's a disgrace. And I think we, as the people, ought to have enough guts. Politics, sure it's politics. Nothing but politics. I know that. You know it. But at the same time, we are destroying something that this state is so important. Without educating these students, all we're doing is putting more of them and more of them in the jailhouse. And I think we need to do everything that we can to take and to ensure that public education continues on, and we support it, and we give them the tools to take and to do their job with. And I really am sincere about that.
Any further questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do feel compelled to comment, Mr. James, that we cover some of these items on Assembly Day, and I look forward to the time when you attend with us in Raleigh on Assembly Day and speak to members of the General Assembly about their lack of funding. And I think this resolution, along with attending the Assembly Day, is both very important, and I will vote for the resolution.
Any further discussion? If not, we've had a motion and a second, so let's vote. Thank you. The next item under items for decision is the amendment to the ordinance to regulate the utilization of Pitt County recreational complex regarding firearms. This is an item that has come back to us from the Recreational Advisory Council. You have read the information. Mr. Manager, do you want to discuss this, or is our attorney going to do it?
I think I'll turn it to the attorney based upon the legal constraints of this item.
Thank you.
Sure. If I may, as we do with our legislation, we monitor closely the acts of the General Assembly as they move through their session. And one of the things that they did this session was amend the firearms law. And in doing that, I am diligent in comparing what we currently have on the books with what the new law allows for. And when I saw this, reached out to Rita Roy in Parks and Recreation, who is here along with the chairperson of the Recreation Advisory Council as well, because in 2008, this board passed an ordinance that prohibited all firearms in the Pitt County Recreational Complex. That's the current law that's on the books and is on the books today. Now the General Assembly has taken steps to say that a Board of County Commissioners is authorized to prohibit concealed firearms in their public parks so long as the name of the park is specifically designated in your ordinance. Ours was all along because we only have that one park. And second, it specifies very particularly where concealed weapons might be prohibited. So whereas in the past there was a blanket authority to prohibit guns, now the General Assembly has told us very specifically that guns may be prohibited or concealed weapons may be prohibited at swimming pools, gymnasiums, and on athletic fields when organized athletic events are taking place. So I reached out to the Recreation staff and advised them about this change and that we needed to bring back to the Board of Commissioners, to your attention, the fact that our current ordinance needs updating based upon the change in the state law. So before you, you really have two steps. One is to look at your current ordinance, and I recommend to you that the current language be stricken because it is not compliant with the law. Your current language reads that all firearms are prohibited within your Pitt County recreational complex. And I would recommend to you today that that is not consistent with state law. So that's your first step. Your second step is what happens next, and that's whether or not you choose to exercise your authority to prohibit concealed carry weapons in the park in the locations that you were allowed to do so, or whether or not you choose to not replace the language at all, or some variation of wording. You could, in terms of wording, I'll give you your two most obvious choices, I think. Well, first you can choose to do nothing once you take out the non-compliant language, and that would really then that would be this board not exercising its authority at all to regulate or prohibit concealed carry weapons in the park. That's one option. Another option is to do what was recommended by the Advisory Council, which is to insert language into your ordinance, and that's what's contained in your package. That was after consideration by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council, and they recommended that this board add language that says firearms are prohibited to the fullest extent of state law. So what that means is whatever state law says, that's the degree to which they should be prohibited. That's the Recreation Advisory Council's attempt not to rewrite law, but rather to say whatever the state law is, that's what ought to apply in our park. And that's also, I believe, was recommended with some foresight. In the last 2 years, the law has been clarified twice as to where you can carry. So broader language like that would prevent this board from having to modify its ordinance each time the General Assembly modified its. It would just track with the state law. Another option would be to be very specific in your ordinance, and that would be to mirror exactly the language that's in the state law, which would be firearms are prohibited on athletic fields when there is an organized event taking place, in any appurtenant facilities, and in any swimming pool the park may have, or any gymnasium that the park may have. And you can track that language exactly. Whether you say nothing, say something as recommended by the Advisory Council, or say something specific is a policy decision for this board. Any of those choices should not breed litigation, and if litigation is brought, it is certainly defensible because there would be no basis in the law to bring it. What we're doing is responding to a change in the law by the General Assembly to bring your current ordinance into compliance.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
It's very easy to solve. All we got to do is what the gentleman has already said. All we got to do is to deplete the ordinance that Pitt County has passed in the past as in contradiction to the state law, and use the same law that the state has passed. That's all we got to do. It's very simple, and that's what we need to do.
So
we need to abide the state law, and also to use the same writings and so forth, and I move that we do that we knew, just as I have suggested.
You're saying the same language as the
As the
state?
state
I'll
law.
second that.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion?
Can we ask the attorney to read what that language is?
Yes, I think she just did, but would you read that again, please?
Yeah, well, before she does that, this is the recommendation by the Advisory Council.
No.
No.
No. This is really county staff's original drafted language.
Okay.
But we're going to have to abide by the state law. It overrides the county ordinance, does it not?
Oh, I got you, but this will
Yes.
prevent us having to go back every time there is a change, is that?
No.
No, if you mirror the law exactly, if the law changes again, we'll bring it back to you if you are out of
Okay.
compliance.
I got you.
May I ask this question? Can we put in that as the state law changes, then the ordinance or whatever the Pitt County Constitution would also change with the state law or requirement, or do we need not to do that?
That's required anyway. I mean,
All right, okay, go ahead, we're covered then.
It's been requested that you read exactly what the motion entails.
Yes, so if you exercise the authority to prohibit guns exactly as is allowed in the statute, I would advise you that it would read firearms are prohibited on all athletic fields and appurtenant facilities, including restrooms during organized athletic events.
And that our ordinance is not in effect anymore. Our ordinance will change with this.
And that would replace, right, the current language in Section 7 of the ordinance prohibits all firearms in the parks, period.
Right, okay.
That would go away,
That's
and
right.
this would come in its place.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what
Mr.
we're-
Coulson.
By doing so, what this really does is it makes it very clear. The original wording that was suggested, firearms are prohibited in Pitt County recreational complex to the fullest extent permitted by law, those are carefully chosen words. Those are words that would take somebody that has a concealed carry. Mind you, they are not the problem. The other day, or yesterday, I was reading in the paper that the Pitt County, or the grand jury, had 65 people that they indicted. How many want to take a bet that not one of them has a concealed carry? The concealed carry people are not the problem. And so what the way it was originally proposed is somebody carrying a concealed carry would come up there and they'd see this sign, and now they're confused. It flies in the face of the spirit of the law or the intent of the legislature, which was to make it clear and in unison across the entire state. So if they go from county to county, they know what really is what they're able to do and what they're not able to do. So I'm a big Second Amendment proponent, and I really believe that it's time that we actually test to see whether or not this works, and I think it will. The bad guys, the criminals, the leeches on society, they don't care what the law is. And when we put a sign up that says gun free or you can't carry a gun here, that's an open invitation to somebody that's not law abiding to go in there and take advantage. Remember, these criminals are predators on society. And if you read the paper, you see these predators, they get off over and over and over. Suspended sentence. How many times do you see suspended, 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 suspended? Our court, the police catch them, and the courts convict them, and then or they release them to do it again. So anyway, I guess I've said enough, but I think that this new language will clear it up, and we will be in compliance with the state.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To echo Commissioner Coulson's comments, and also remind us that self-defense is chiefly the responsibility of the individual, not the government. Police respond to crime. They can't always prevent it. And when it comes to your self-defense, it is ultimately your responsibility first, and that's where these concealed carry permit holders come in. When you look at the incident that happened at Walmart, law enforcement was on the scene in under 2.5 minutes. A man walking with a shotgun across the street through a large parking lot was able to shoot 3 people before local government could respond and protect anybody. And so, and these are gun-free zones, and just this idea that gun-free zones are safe is untrue. Chicago would be a utopia if that were true, and it had a higher murder rate yesterday than the Wild West had at any given time. Not to mention, more people were killed in Chicago over the weekend than at the shootout at the OK Corral. So people not having the rights to defend themselves is something that we shouldn't impose. Our first responsibility as a government body is to increase the liberty of our people, not hinder it, and to make sure that the people that are law-abiding citizens have the ability to defend themselves. I believe, I don't know that was, the Constitution was written, I think it was presupposed that you could defend yourself. It didn't have to be written into the Second Amendment. That was for self-defense. But we just need to stop this notion that somehow when someone commits a crime, that society is guilty, and that we need to pass a law to prevent everyone from doing anything. And something like this, if you're going to commit a crime with a gun, that's going to be a major felony. And so a minor misdemeanor of the possession of it is not really going to be on your radar if you're planning on walking in somewhere and shooting somebody. And so it seems like a feel-good thing, and I'm glad we're with the motion and that we will allow our law-abiding citizens to carry concealed and protect themselves and a third party if need be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make it clear that I'm not interested as a member of this board in testing the law. If we need to do something to bring Pitt County in line with state law, then that's proper, I believe, but I'm not interested in just testing the law.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm certainly in support of the state law, but more particular, I'm concerned about, as stated already, about organized these athletic events and thinking in terms of the safety of our children and our less vulnerable individuals in organizing. And the state law speaks to that effect. So certainly I think that this is in line with what we are all talking about in terms of supporting, and I am a strong supporter of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions or discussion? You've heard the motion. Let's vote. Thank you. The next item for decision is an extension on a conditional use permit for Mrs. Slaymaker. Mr. Rhodes.
Move approve.
Motion to
Second it.
approve. Any discussion, questions? Let's vote.
This is an extension
Yes.
request.
Thank you.
Next item is environmental health fee amendment or adjustment, and Mr. Brown is here to present that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in your packet, there was an introductory statement, and it is a little confusing when we want to simplify things. What we've gone from, and I do have a PowerPoint here, and at your pleasure, I'll be glad to present that. We're making a move to simplify the fees. There's been some duplicity over time with changes in the our transition from Diener to Division of Health and Human Services. There's been some political steering of different interpretations of rules and laws, and this has made us, at the local level, rethink how we would apply things. Our goal here is to make the fee schedule more simplistic. We've gone from 31 separate fees to 19. So these will be easier for the public to interpret, easier for us to administrate, and avoid some of the questions. In the old system, there were tiers, where if you came in for one permit, we went out to the property, there might be another permit, and in some cases, a third permit. What we did is did a background study. This was passed by the Board of Health in the June meeting. We studied our 7 comparable counties to see that we were in line with them, and we also looked at our adjacent counties. Because of the statutory mandate to change and collect fees, particularly one that was in the introductory letter was the limited food service establishments. And rather than come to you piecemeal, we decided to present a simpler, more comprehensive plan. The septic tank fee for the initial lot evaluation will remain the same. We propose to increase the construction authorization, and this is some of that removal in the tiers of non-conventional systems. With our shallow soils here, we're having to use a lot of these non-conventional systems, and rather than penalize the public by charging them duplicate fees, and in terms of the change in the nomenclature, that seems to be a fairer way to go for the citizens and better and easier for us to administrate. The new construction authorizations in a lot of cases have no expiration date. It used to be when you came to us for a permit, they would expire in 5 years. Now they're good forever. So we're offering a service, it might be 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years before we complete that service. And the original applicant is probably not the person we're dealing with. So a developer might develop a subdivision, property sold, and 10 years later, we might be doing a home, and there's no way to anticipate those needs. So this is part of this tweaking the system. Existing systems, we've rolled some of these together, which was mentioned in the introductory letter. Here, for example, is existing system fees for comparable counties, $67, our neighboring county $63. Change of use, change of flow, $199 for our comps, surrounding counties $204. This is one of the statutory things we mentioned in revising an improvements permit. The Attorney General's Office and Division of Health and Human Services says we legally can't do that. So we're eliminating that fee. We cannot modify those permits. Those permits are issued as a contract between the applicant and Pitt County, and we can't modify those documents. We have to issue a new document. So that's one of the statutory changes. Construction authorization revision, we've left that the same with a site visit, a slight increase there. Again, that was rolling some of these tiered fees that were stacked on top of each other together. It makes us work more efficiently and gives the consumer a good menu of fees when they look at these up front and know exactly what they'll have to pay. Here again is our construction authorization comps, average 62, 204 for the surrounding counties. We're eliminating these fees, which are renewal of different types. And without going into a lot of detail, and certainly I encourage you at any time that you want any additional information on system types and the complexity, it's just too detailed to share this morning. This is part of that simplification. Authorizations to construct, which is what we call the old-fashioned septic tank, had a cutoff date, 7/1/01. Those issued before that period paid an additional $100 at the time you made an application. Now it will be straight across the board. There won't be, if you have a permit from pre-2001, you pay $100. Now it'll be a straight fee whenever the permit was issued, whether it was issued 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 15 years ago. Swimming pool plan, again, we're trying to make this a little more uniform in terms of the application of the fees. Seasonal pools, we've asked for a slight change there. That's our greatest potential liability. We're going out 3 times a year, and certainly they're operating from April 1st to October 1st with our largest population and our greatest exposure in terms of our need to be there. Now, the wading pool, we're eliminating that. Here's our comparable on the swimming pools, 138. And the seasonal pools are allowed to operate from April 1st to October 1st. And certainly that's when most people are going to use them. Again, swimming pool plan review, we've gotten that in line with our comparable counties. Bacterial water samples, chemical water samples, very limited increase. Is just, this has not been updated since 2009, is just the cost of the containers. Certainly this is not a money maker, or we can't recover any of those monies. Restaurant plan review, this is another portion of the simplification. Rather than it be tiered for a food stand, less than 20 seats, more than 20 seats. In the real environment, it quite often takes us longer to do a smaller restaurant than a bigger restaurant. It would depend on had the building been a restaurant before, their menu, what type of utilities are available. Here again, the comps for the surrounding counties and for our peer counties. So I would ask that the commissioners approve this simplification of the fee structure. I'll be glad to entertain any questions. Yes, Mr. James.
Okay,
Yes.
wait just a minute. I think our manager had a couple comments, and then I had one other person already.
Just want to mention that Dwayne Holder and myself sat down with Jim Brown and John Reed from the Health Department, went over the changes. On page 84, you've got a copy of the composite summary of everything. The board members, you should have a color-coded copy of this. This basically reflects 14 things that are being deleted in an effort to consolidate some of the fees and charges. Then on top of that, there are 8 changes and then 1 new item. Just wanted to let you know that we have gone over this in detail with them.
Okay. Mr. Owens.
After you delete all of these things, you're talking about deletion, but increase some fees, how much increase are you figuring overall?
We don't foresee that they're actually, it's more leveling because we can't predict. It's client-driven, so we don't know whether that client's going to come to us for service now or in the future. But we see this as pretty much an even landscape, deleting those.
On page 81, down at the bottom, proposed increases, when you go from 100 to 125, and from 100 to 150, from 125 to 175, right on down the line, certainly is an increase in my mind. Right. What bothers me, ladies and gentlemen, about this is that just as recently as of June of this year, we went through our budgetary proceedings. We approved the fee charges and increases. I know we're talking about critiquing and adversing here, but I'm just not in the mindset to change something, increasing their fees on people that are the consumers at a time when you've only gone through your budget back in June. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
And I appreciate those comments. Some of them were combining services. So rather than penalize it, if you come to us for a permit and charging you $300 and another $100 and then another $100, it's not in the best interest of the taxpayer.
You're giving a freebie on one end and double charging on another one, though, aren't you?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Thank you.
No, we've studied this and trying to give the best service for the dollar.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner James.
Well, I'm kind of like Mr. Owens, Commissioner Owens. The time to have done this is at the budget time. Might as well face it. We did some of it. But one of the things that's always worried me, if a person, the $75 for the mobile home fee, why is it that you might, that septic tank is working perfect, has been working perfect for 5 years, always does good, but it doesn't matter when that trailer moves from there, you're going to inspect it, that septic tank. Is that a state law or is that a law made by this Board of County Commissioners?
No, sir, it's a state law. It's talking about putting the system into reuse.
No, it's not. It's not being in reuse. Anybody knows anything about a mobile home, you can move it today and move one right back in the same position, and most of them do that day. But it doesn't matter. Before you move that mobile home there, you're going to come over here to this inspection office, and you aren't going to move it there until you do it. And you have got to take and get one of your people to come out there and inspect that septic tank, even though it's been working perfect, and it is perfect. And 99% of the cases, well, more than that, 100% of the cases, it will be all right. But yet you still got to come over here, make that tree, and make your payment. Now, can you answer me that? But why we do that?
Yes, Commissioner James, your systems may work wonderfully, and I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Not all of our clients are honest and straightforward. We do find a lot of problems, probably on a third of the systems we go to.
Yeah, but you know, you've been in a home. If that system's not working, do you think you're going to be able to use the commode or anything else? In other words, if your septic tank is not working, you can't live there. I know that. Everybody here knows that. And to me, it's a good way, when it takes time for that, it takes time to do all of this we're talking about. And that's the only thing I like for you to consolidate. Commissioner, I think you're exactly right. I think the time to do it is not right now. We should have already done it. But consolidate it. Get them together so you can save all of these trips that all of these people have to come over here to the inspection department. That's one of the biggest complaints I get. Got to go to the inspection and get this ticket, having to come out here to do this and that. And, but I still do not understand, and you haven't answered that question satisfied to me, because I know, I deal with it. Believe me.
And for all the conscientious citizens we've got a lot of landlords and people in the county who are not conscientious. And our responsibility is to look after the
That's what we want.
For everybody.
And believe me, I'm not going to put and the average person's got a mobile home. It's just like the home you live in. That septic tank has got to work. I mean, there is no question about it. And if it doesn't work, those people are going to let you know about it, and you got to do something, and you got to do it fast. I know. But anyway, I'm not winning, so I might as well shut up.
Well, some of these that were statutory changes, we do have to now collect a $75 fee.
You've been collecting it, ain't you?
No, sir.
Well, it's been $50 then. I'm paid, I know.
Okay, yes, sir. Not on the existing system, but the statutory change was for the limited food service establishments. The state said that they're not going to collect it anymore. Pitt County's going to have to collect it.
I'm a firm believer in daycare and all of these other things, just like we did on gun control. The state of North Carolina has laws, and we should not overextend ours to what the state requires us to take and to do. I really do. I think that the state has laws, enough laws on the book, that we don't need to put more. Unless we have.
Those are the laws we work under.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Our manager has a comment.
I did want to say that only a small portion of this is driven by the General Assembly as it came out of as it adjourned the long session. The Session Law 2013-360, which references Senate Bill 402, as Mr. Brown is talking about, collecting the $75 for the food establishments is the only thing that's technically driven. I did talk to him about the fact that we normally only consider fee changes at budget time that's then driven into our fee manual and then rolled out. So part of this could be deferred until next spring if you so chose. He and Dr. Morrow, and Board of Health actually voted to send this forward as well as one combined package, but technically only a portion of it is driven by state law that is required.
Okay, Commissioner Ward.
2 questions, and then I'd like to make a motion in reference to what you just said. On the total picture that we have in front of us, do you have an amount is there an increase?
There should not be any increase.
But we don't know.
We don't know because each activity is
Well, I know,
based on
but
the
if we combine $100 and $50, are we making that combined fee $150 or $175? We're keeping it at the combined fee, not increasing it.
Correct. And most of the fees are less than the tiered amount. That was our goal. We looked at if you came in and paid for them in a tiered fashion, what the cost would be.
Okay.
Let me try to, I'm John Reed from the Health Department.
John.
When we looked, what really drove us to come before the board was the new session law, which became effective August 1. So we didn't have that information in hand when we prepared the annual budget. That session law just shifts the collection of limited food establishment fees to the county, so we thought we have to come before the board for that anyway. Let's see if we can clean up some of these fees. I agree with you. If we would have had prior knowledge, we would have tried to incorporate it into the budget. The reposition those fees, we do not think it will bring in any more money.
Okay.
With the exception of we will now be collecting the $75 locally for those limited food establishments, but there's only about 10.
10 or 11.
10 or 11.
Right.
So that's going to be even less than $1,000.
Well, my question.
So it's not going to be a revenue generator.
Yeah, it wasn't, my question wasn't for that reason. It was just to to reinforce the fact that the consolidation and the juxtaposition of the fees was going to be kind of the same fee amount, not for us to get more. I'm not asking that question, but I don't want us to be increasing it. Okay.
Overall, we don't think it's going to increase, and we do think it will make a more simplified fee structure for all of the consumers.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to make a motion that we allow the $75, which allow is probably not the right word, but do the $75 fee collection, include that, and that we defer this other set of fee consolidations and that sort of thing until our next budget presentation, when you all come before us, and may give you a little bit more time to give it some look.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I'd like for you to read that. I want to know again. Read the motion.
Well, basically, my idea, and you can state it however you want to, Madam Attorney, or whoever, that we've got to do the $75 because the state says so. It's the same thing as the parks.
Right.
So that's all I'm saying that we do, and that you look
That's
at
the
the
only
rest
thing.
of the
Yeah.
fees
Okay.
and the consolidation of them and bring it forward to us at budget time.
You second the motion.
I second.
Yeah. Okay, you've heard the motion. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe in any request to be brought before this board, that the request should be as simple as possible. And I think you have complicated what's being requested here that makes the whole situation more difficult. And I would hope, Mr. Reed, that we could present information in the simplest way possible in the future.
Any further questions or discussion? Everybody clear on the motion? Let's vote. Okay, let's proceed to our next item, which is a request for the lease proposal for the Agricultural Center, and Mr. Rhodes is going to present that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have a proposal that is due to General Services Administration for the different federal agencies that occupy currently the Ag Center. Most of you are aware when the new center was built back in the early 90s, we had established what was called a Farm Service Center. We have several federal agencies residing in the south wing of the Agricultural Center. And I'm pleased to announce this morning we did get a 2-week reprieve in getting this proposal to the federal government for consideration. And again, this is the formal lease proposal. We have already submitted an informal proposal. I think that's included in your package today. And you can see the amount we propose to charge per square footage. With that, this is just a breakup or a layout of where we see these federal agencies residing. Remember, we have the Farm Services Administration, the Rural Development portion of the United States Department of Agriculture, and also Natural Resources Conservation Service residing in this building currently. There have been some minor tweaks over the last couple of days with some changes with FSA and the common space, but all said still the same amount of overall square footage. And you can see that on the screen now. Again, FSA will have the lion's share of the proposed square footage to be leased, along with rural development. Natural Resources Conservation Service actually is somewhat folded in with our local soil and water office. And then hallways, restrooms, and storage areas account for about 1,200 square feet. With this, it's quite a large package that would go back to General Services Administration for this consideration. The good thing here, we currently have 2 lease agreements with these agencies. This will bring all of them under one umbrella lease, and there are a few minor renovations that we're looking out there to have done. Mike Taylor and his office have been in to look at some wiring, as well as Mike Rogers and his staff looking at some new office space that will actually have some permanent walls versus some of these temporary walls that are up currently. So all said, we'll probably put in about $10,000 worth of renovations. All said, we would like to get this package in within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we would also recommend that you allow the manager to sign off on that.
Any questions? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I want all of you to realize that the Ag Center there is a very important part of Pitt County. And there's competition now, it has been for some times, pertaining to combining some of these organizations into one county. So we want to make sure, James, that we keep things right out there and that we are in line, that we don't want to try to, you know what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm about, no.
Yes, sir.
And because we want to make sure that we keep this, all of these departments here in the county of Pitt. It's very important, very important. And remember, we use that auditorium for many activities and so forth. And so I think, and I believe that the people of Pitt County would want us to take it to do this because a lot of people use that facilities.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like the county manager to comment on this request.
This is a ongoing matter we've had with the federal government, with GSA, for years. We currently have a lease with them that is has ran out, but they continue to pay on a month-to-month basis. And we've worked with the agencies that James has mentioned very closely, and the local agencies have been very cooperative and are wanting to stay, and we want them to stay. We value their service to the citizens of Pitt County, the farmers as such, and the different people that they work with. We also value the fact that this is a revenue-generating contract with the federal government because they're paying to be there. They're leasing the space from us. And I recommend that you approve this so that we can move this to the next formal stage. We've been working, like I say, with them for quite a
Since
years.
2008.
Yeah, years, literally. But again, they have continued to pay every month. They're not out of compliance. But we are trying to up the rent on the building to make it more market rate. I think currently maybe it's $11 or $12 per square foot, and we're looking at 15 or 16.
Have two different leases. One's for $12, one's for $15. We're looking to go to $16
thank you.
overall.
Okay.
I'm not sure that this is clarified as it should be. The proposals coming before this board ought to be clear and concise, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any further
Yes.
discussion?
What's the rate here in Pitt County? You're going to be $16. Who's renting a property for $16? What's it going to? I mean, who you trying to get?
We've worked with the county engineer, Phil Dickerson. He's recommended to us, based upon our survey of other comparable spaces, based upon what we provide out there to the Ag Center, that it is a modern, basically, I mean, it's not a new building, but it is probably, it may not be Class A office space, definitely Class B or B+. And we have made modifications to the areas. I remember was it Rural Development, we remodeled a few years back. I mean, totally remodeled it, put in a very expensive rolling file cabinet system, ones where you turn, and made numerous improvements in there. This time around, we're not having to do as much. I mean, James mentioned some very minor improvements, but it is very good office space, and we're not trying to charge them anything more than what we believe that they will pay and what it's worth.
And Mr. James, remember, this is turnkey. This janitorial services, everything is included here. Any routine maintenance, that's included. So
correct.
They just reside there.
Now, you remember this. Everything that goes on that building benefits the citizens of Pitt County. Everything.
And we believe
it's not
this
like
is...
Pitt Community College with 40% of them come outside of Pitt County. But every one of these people make their living that deals there. They deal with people here, homeowners. and all of them, and I certainly don't want to lose any of these, and if we do, we're gonna be in trouble.
Actually, Mr. James, some of these agencies are serving people outside of Pitt County.
We do
They're
this
more
on land and
regional.
money basis for their homes and so forth on the farm deal. All right, but now, $16, I haven't heard of anybody that was paying, for buildings such as this, $16. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm, Phil, where do you get $16 from? Because over there at the hospital, theirs was 12 or 13, 14.
With Jimmy's permission, I'll answer his question.
Okay.
Mr. James, one thing that I went by is my space that I rent near the football stadium.
Near the football stadium?
I get
Yeah,
$14 a square foot for that.
$14.
Yes.
Now you're going up, you're talking about giving these
Well,
people 16 that
I
all
think
the
it-
citizens benefit Pitt County.
I think if you saw the two, you would say that the office space over at our office park is better than what I'm renting for 14.
I'm not doubting that, and I hope that it is.
Citizens build it.
Yes,
Yeah,
the taxpayers built it, these people that are out there, they're the ones that built the building.
I think you also probably want to consider that we rented it to them for many years for $5 a square foot.
That's
and
good, because of the benefit that we get
And
from
the
it.
market was about 10.
If they leave us, they will go to other space and pay a comparable rate. So why not get that
Yeah.
revenue back to the citizens of Pitt County to lower or keep the tax rate stable?
Oh, you and
I don't believe there's
Lord,
been any
you're gonna
complaint
raise it
about
every time you get an opportunity.
the cost at this point, has it? From the federal government. So
Let me ask this question. Where's Mitch? Is he here? All right, Mitch, I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you work for the county and you work for the state. But kind of help me out on this. I don't like I don't believe in hurting people that help us. Go ahead. What do you think? Are you in favor? Do you think we're doing right?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
be honest about the increase and so forth.
We moved in that facility in 1992, and I certainly respect what Phil has done for you. I think his numbers are sound, Mr. James, so.
All right. So
I'm
you
not-
got no hang-ups with it?
No, sir, not at
All
all.
right, you don't think that as they combine the farm services down at the end, you want them out, that there's a possibility of them combining with another county, say Lenore County, and closing up the one in Pitt County? They've closed up some of them, as you already know.
Yes, sir. That idea actually began under the Clinton administration, reinventing government, as I recall. We moved there in 92.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that process has been underway for a long time, but I have seen no evidence to suggest we're going to lose any of the agencies we have there, so I feel good about the future there.
All right, so you think you're all right for it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner
all we
Owens?
Move we approve this.
I second it.
Commissioner Johnson?
Well, my comment, Mr. Chairman, was that this type of thing needs to be ironed out by a county manager. And we are fussing about something that the county manager should resolve before it comes before this board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm not fussing, I'm just stating what I believe in.
Let's vote, please. One item has been brought to my attention before we move to the next item on our agenda. Mitch is here in the audience, and he wanted to recognize some of the North Carolina Extension folks on their 100th anniversary. He was thinking that that was going to be a separate item on our agenda, but it was in our consent agenda, and I would like to recognize Mitch now.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good morning to all of you. I'd just like to seize this opportunity to thank this board for the item of consent that you have adopted today to commemorate 100 years of home demonstration and community development across North Carolina. You know, ECA is a grassroots institution that has actively addressed the needs of families and their communities for over 100 years, and over this period of time, home demonstration clubs, later named Extension Homemakers, and today known as ECA clubs, have been involved in helping North Carolina become the progressive state that it is today.
ECA began in Pitt County in 1916 when Miss Laura Wingfield from Texas came here as the first home demonstration agent. But in 1925, under the leadership of Miss Bertha Ferguson, that's when the first club was started, known as the Home Demonstration Club. And I brought with me today a brief synopsis of that history. If you're interested, I'll be glad to share it. I'd like to recognize these wonderful people who are with me today who are members of the Pitt County ECA County Council. We have with us, and I'll ask them to stand, Miss Lena Darden, President, Joe Costello, Margaret Whaley, Juanita Nobles, Teresa Sawyer, and Phyllis Weatherington. And I'd like to thank, it's my honor they're with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mitch. We appreciate that. And thank you, wonderful ladies, for all you do. And there's one of them back there that goes to my house and cuts my wife's hair, and I really appreciate that, publicly appreciate that. We now have an appointment to our planning board. We have 3 appointments here. One is a reappointment, Mr. Lyman Hardy, and the 2 are appointments for 2 at-large members. Let's take the reappointment first. Do I have a motion that we reappoint Lyman Hardy?
I so move.
Second.
Motion second. Let's vote. Now we have 2 new members to appoint. One of them is to replace Ms. Faye Barefoot, who rotates off, and the other one is for Laffridge, who resigned. So anyone of the applicants qualifies for either one of these 2 seats because they're at large. So what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I suppose that there's been advertising for this to give people sufficient notice.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And there are 7 applicants, I believe.
And if the board has any questions about not having in mind, I move we do it at a later time.
I second that.
Okay. Motion and second that we delay until the next meeting. Look over the applicants and be prepared to make some nominations at our next meeting. Thank you. Next item is an appointment to our Committee for Employees with Disabilities, and as you can see, there's a recommendation there that we appoint Mrs. Susan Holloman. What is your pleasure?
I'd like to make that a motion, please.
The last motion, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, the last motion has not yet been completed.
Okay.
Mr. James and Coulson.
Tom Coulson, Eugene James. Thank you. We have a motion that we appoint Mrs. Holloman. Did we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Let's vote on that one, please. Okay, thank you. The next item is a request to remove a member as a result of lack of attendance from the Pitt County Nursing Home and Adult Care Community Advisory Committee. What is your pleasure?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made, second.
Second it.
Let's vote. Thank you. The next item is an appointment to our ABC Board and the designation of the chairman. Let's take those one at a time. Do I have a motion for the chairperson of our ABC Board?
Move that we appoint John Minges as chair.
Okay, motion for John Minges. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion, say any further discussion? Let's vote. Thank you. Now we need to appoint one new member, and you see the list of applicants.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Pat Dunn.
Motion to appoint Pat Dunn.
Where are they all at? What page is that?
Looking at page 118.
Yeah, 118 through whatever.
Is Ed Bright interested? Is that one?
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah. I'd like to nominate Ed Bright.
Okay, we have 2 nominations, Ed Bright and Pat Dunn. Any further nominations?
I don't know. Anyway.
Is Mr. Bright already serving on 2 boards?
I thought he came off the Eastern Region Board.
Yeah, I think
due
he's
to
For health reasons.
reasons. I don't know that for sure.
This has been in here for, he's been on the list.
I mean, I don't know, but his name's here, so.
Okay, if I hear no further nominations, we will vote in reverse order. Mr. Bright, we will vote first. All in favor of Mr. Bright, please vote. Okay, that motion fails, so now we will vote on Ms. Pat Dunn.
Mr. James?
I don't have to vote. Don't have to vote.
Okay, thank you. We have one final appointment, that's to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and you see the recommendation there on page 130. Mr. Chrysler, what is your pleasure?
I'd like to nominate, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, is it Sislar? Sislar, I think.
I didn't pronounce it that way, but I'm sure I pronounced it wrong. But he does meet the
Common names.
attribute of the United Way representative?
Yes, and that's how it has to be.
Okay, good. Any further nominations? Well, let's vote. Thank you. We do have a closed session. Madam Attorney, will you take us into closed session?
I will. It has been suggested that this board go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5 to establish or instruct the public body's staff or negotiating agents concerning the positions to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or a proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or release, and 318.11A1 to review the content of closed session minutes.
Okay, thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and go into closed session. Thank you. We have now completed our closed session, and we have one item of business we need to take care of. Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we approve the August 19th closed session minutes as to the content only.
I second it.
Okay, any discussion? Let's vote. Thank you. Commissioner comments. We'll start with you, Mr. Hammond.
I don't have many.
Mr. James?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like for the management to take into request that we have turn lanes on the Barris Construction Road and Highway 33. We talked about this when we approved, the planning department approved a dollar store there on the corner. If you would go by there in the morning time or in the late, well, any time in the afternoon, well, just about any time, there's a tremendous amount of traffic there. They have had some wrecks there even before the store is being built there. And also right across the road from there, as all of you know, that's where the dump, the Lewis, where they dump the whole.
E.R. Lewis.
E.R. Lewis, to haul all the trash, that's right across the street from there.
I was out there yesterday.
Yeah, and it really needs to be looked into. I talked to James about that, and he said he didn't know whether we could succeed or not, but it's worth a try. And I think that we need to send a resolution, work it up, and have Bill or whoever needs to do that, James, to take and to make sure that we try to take and get turn lanes turning in off of the Barris Construction Road and off of Highway 33, and I would really appreciate that.
Mr. James, can we handle that like we have in the past with a letter to DOT from the county and ask them to respond?
All right, that would be good.
Okay.
We want to let them know that
Okay.
in their plans, something needs to be done pertaining to that area.
The store's already open, Mr. James.
They haven't got it completed, but it's well on its way.
We can just do that. We don't have to take a vote or anything.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Coulson?
No comments.
Ms. Webb?
No comments, thank you.
Mr. Owens?
Just point of information, this morning in our consent agenda, we approved the transfer of the property, school property in the 10th Street extension deal In that package was a release from the lending institution, a release from the indebtedness, and I asked the question sometime when we were talking about $27,000, was that going to be applied against the indebtedness, or was it going into the general fund?
Is going into the general fund, correct me if I'm wrong, Janice, on that.
Within the discretion of this board.
I think the intent was to
There-
apply it against the debt.
Well, that's what I was, if I'd have been asked for myself personally, that's what I would have preferred.
Yes, I think
There were
so,
no
too.
directives by the bank. It's within the discretion
And
of this
that's
board.
right. The bank just gave you a release.
Yes.
So it's up to this board to decide
That's correct.
where, at the proper time, I think we need to review that.
Can we just
At your
put-
direction, Mr.
Can
Chairman.
we put that on next month's agenda?
Yeah, let us get the
Okay.
funds in, then we'll bring it as a budget amendment to
Because I
vote
agree
against.
with you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
No additional comment, Mr. Chairman.
No comment.
Mr. Webb?
Happy birthday to our sheriff today, and an early birthday to my mother tomorrow, who will be 28.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Let's vote. Thank you very much.
You're superb.
Yeah, that's